she's having like delusions of grandeur as she looks at the judges or whatever, the auditioning, and they're all the faces of like her mother, like her dead mother, who is saying you're never gonna do it, and she's like, no, I'm a star, give me a chance, like I can do this, like I'm a star, you're all crazy, and they're all like, I think you're crazy. So
zoinks.
I wrote, don't give up on your dream.
I'm dead.
Don't murder people either. Murder's not the answer.
Hi everyone, welcome back to Chronic the podcast.
And our chronic community where we are lulling through all of our chronic shit.
That's right. Wow, Jamie, off book.
Meg switched it on me and we reversed our intro.
I pulled out the rug because guess
but
what?
I liked it.
Surprise.
I'm not gonna lie, in my mind I was like, what does it say on our TikTok? What does it say?
On our TED. Oh, I think you said TED Talk, and I was like, we had a TED Talk?
Technically every week is a TED Talk.
That's right. We just don't have a...
Thank you all for coming.
Thank you, everyone. So hi, we're back.
We're back. It's been a rough couple of weeks.
Hey guys, guess what? Jamie was so jealous that I kept getting COVID that what did she have to go and do? Get COVID.
I finally got the vid.
Woo! First time?
I think so. I mean, I feel like in the last few years I must have had it, but maybe never bad. But this time I thought I had the flu. I was like, oh no, it's just the flu. And then I tested and it was like, hey, and it was bad. Now I am battling. I'm so sorry. My lung capacity is still difficult amongst other things. And I don't sleep anymore. So it's cute.
So I'm going to give her prescription drugs.
Maybe. Listen, when in doubt, drugs.
We'll find out.
And then how have you been?
Jamie. How have I been? It's all a blur. Okay, so yeah, I had a crash for like over a week, and like I was telling you, I needed to just kind of let it happen. And I think you've watched me a lot of my historical crashes that I'll really resist it and be frustrated and be upset, and I
finally just lay there
and then finally lay once I've like cried in Julie's arms. And so this time I was like, instead of having a conniption fit,
we're just going to ride it.
We're just going to ride the wave.
Yeah.
So I swaddled myself in Julie's giant quilt blanket, and I rewatched The Queen's Gambit for the third time.
It's so fucking good.
It's wild. You know what's weird though? Every time I watch it, it makes me want to drink. Like, and I know that they have those. That's why they have on the upper left corner, right? They always have like trigger warning, drinking, drug use, sex.
Well,
like
they make it look sexy at the time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I think it's funny because it's not funny, but I remember when I was drinking, when I was really using alcohol as a coping tool years ago, when I think watched it for the second time, maybe it was during the pandemic or something. I remember I'd been really good not drinking for a while.
I know that you watched the show.
And I watched the show.
And you fell off the wagon.
I fell off the wagon so hard.
That's so funny.
So hard.
I mean, the whole show is like drinking and drugs, kind of.
Yeah, watching
in a very classy way.
Or also just like watching her like crack a cold beer and chug it and to like numb out. And I was like, oh yeah, your girl wants to numb out.
That feels real good
right now.
Yeah, that's so funny.
Trigger warning on this episode: alcohol abuse.
So Jesus. But also phenomenal show. If no one's watched, you need to.
But it is so good. But so the reason I bring up alcohol abuse around that show is because as I was laying there, again, letting the crash happen, get more curious about why am I bottoming out right now. And I did have this check-in with self moment where I was like, how cool that, and I think we can all do this for ourselves as we look back at our adult lives and seeing that we are getting more tools, or we are getting better at dealing with difficult situations, because I really saw, wow, like 3 or 4 years ago when I would spin out, I may have turned to alcohol. And then like 7 to 10 years ago, I would have dove into my eating disorder, like whatever it is. I was laying there in my little swaddle moment, just being like, I'm going to give myself that pat on the back that I'm not engaging in destructive behavior right now.
Big growth.
Big growth. So like, even though I feel like shit and things, I'm spiraling, that's a win.
That is a win. And then, so since you sort of like kind of let yourself succumb to it this time instead of your old pattern, did you notice any change, like how long it took you in this crash?
I think I was more like like Sky and I talk about in the eating disorder, whenever like a behavior wants to come up and you feel the impulse to have a behavior, it's a red flag. That's like something is wrong. Yeah. So that's what I let it be. I'm like, Meg is trying to tell you something. And I think it did. It showed me that like always doing too much in too many areas.
She wants to do it all.
She wants to do it all. And you can with the right support. Yep. But yeah, I got insights and it allowed me to actually make some changes. So
that's amazing.
Positive.
Yeah. And it's actually really interesting that you said about not responding the way you used to and going back to destructive behaviors, because yesterday, in the midst of I have not told Meg this, by the way.
Oh.
But like, no, yesterday, I mean, a little bit, you checked in and I was like, nope. Today, Satan. No, I'm just kidding.
Call me Lucy.
Yesterday was just kind of a culmination of, it was really hard for me. So this whole like not sleeping thing is really getting to me. I hope it's okay. Like I'm comparing a tiny bit to like kind of what you're going through, because
Compare
I feel
away,
like
girl.
I'm in this cycle pattern, at least the last couple weeks, because
psycho pattern?
Cycle pattern.
Cool.
But also I do feel psycho. So maybe. No, because I'm not sleeping. I'm sure I'm falling asleep at some point, but it is not the way that like, it is not a full night's good rest. It's just like my brain.
You're just a horizontal body.
My brain won't turn off at all. So it feels like 24 hours of my brain just on.
It's too much.
And then, so I worked on Thursday for the first time in a very long time. So I had like a full day / into the night of work, but I was so excited. It was like midnight or 12:30 and I was yawning on the way home and I was like, man, my body's tired. I was on my feet all day. I worked. I'm so tired. I'm going to pass out. I didn't sleep at all Thursday night.
Psych.
So when I woke up yesterday, I was just so overtired and so emotional about it. And also I'm getting my period in the next couple of days. So like, we know unfun Jamie is also on the way. By the way, this what I'm about to say is not towards you at all, but like we were chatting about like the podcast and we're going to have a meeting and all these things. And I was just like, I don't know. I was feeling like a lot of feelings, but I kept telling myself like, those are not real. These are not things you believe. And I like wanted to talk to you yesterday, but I was like, you need to not speak. You need to let these untrue thoughts and feelings pass.
You might say some crazy shit.
Right. You're going to say things you don't mean.
Dude.
So let's let tomorrow be a fresh start. And that's why this morning when I woke up, I was like,
yeah,
she's okay.
No, I mean, literally.
But I would have in the past come over in like a flurry and like
or
cried
left
hysterically.
Or left like a really long text message of like
or a voice
all these feelings
and crying and being like such a fucking psychopath.
And then me being like, Jamie, can we just talk?
Yeah. And then, but I didn't.
But it's so funny. No, it's amazing because, and this was our second episode ever. We talked about spiraling and we talked about do not make big decisions in a spiral.
I thought about you.
Jamie, I thought about you. Oh, we're so gay. I thought about you when I was in my pit of despair because I started having all these crazy thoughts and feelings of like, I have to pull the plug on everything. Like everything's too much. I can't keep giving things away. I just was like, I also went to Psycho Town. And or whatever you said was it?
I like that. Well, it's Psycho Town.
Psycho circles. Yeah. But I literally was outside myself looking in, being like, Meg, anything you do or say will be held against you.
And it's not real.
It's not real. And the amount of times I've learned, and my mother, bless her, because she is very direct, but she would say these things to me when I'd have a bad period, PMDD. Like a meltdown. And she'd be like, don't make a decision right now, Meg. You're literally not in your right mind.
It's so true.
So we both cheers.
Cheers. Clink. Oh my God. Wait, I feel really excited that we did that.
Oh my gosh. This is it. This is the work. We
guys learn from us.
Guys. Don't break up with your significant other when you're spiraling.
No, like don't make any decisions. It's not who you really are. It's not what you really think.
This is not who you really are.
And actually, what's funny, I started to do a little, what do you call it? Like a little journal entry on my computer. I wrote 3 sentences and I was like, shut up.
Like, self-edit.
What is that?
Delete.
I read them and I was like, shut the fucking computer off. Like, what are you doing?
That's so funny. I have a vivid core visceral memory of back when I was in my eating disorder. I think it was like my sophomore year of college. I remember being home for Christmas or something and I was like in despair and I'm like opening my journal. Like I'm going to write in my journal.
Dear diary.
And I remember like same exact shit. I wrote a few sentences about like how I'm everything, I'm spiraling. And I remember just going, this isn't serving you.
No.
Like, shut up.
Shut up.
Just go outside. Like, go talk to your mom. Go outside. Be with the dog. Whatever. It's so interesting how, like, yeah, I could just feel that digging in wouldn't help. Our brains
I hate them. They're so mean.
They're trying to help us in some way, but it's funny that we're talking about this because I do feel like it's like in these moments we are like Ghostface. We are like,
our brains are scary.
Our brains, we turn into monsters, which
we're possessed. All the things. So,
which is this, we aren't going to go full there, but it is a segue into a fun activity for today.
Yes, it is, because as you guys are listening to this or watching us on the YouTube, today's the 30th of October. Tomorrow's Halloween. Look at her go. But tomorrow is Halloween. So we wanted to do just like a fun little but very chronic, twisted, as Meg said, activity for today. This isn't called anything. It's just an idea that we had. So
it's a Jamie idea and it's fucking great. And before we jump fully into it, I am going to shout out one of our listeners who will remain anonymous. But this being in my in my week of chronic illness and everything.
Chronic spooky brain.
Oh my God, she's haunted. You sent me a comment on one of the YouTube videos from one of our listeners, and he's a young guy, and we actually met back in New York, and I had forgotten, but he got into a bad car accident when he was like 12. Ooh. Yeah, and it has plagued him. The injuries, I guess, were so extensive that it comes up in his back or his neck. It comes out at different times in his life, and no matter, you know, the amount of x-rays and different doctors and specialists, like no one can quite figure out why he's in pain or why it's debilitating.
So frustrating.
But he shared with me like the hardest part of all of this is the isolation. And it really drove home and reminded me like why we started this podcast was because when you're in it, it's so isolating. Yeah. And if you can't really describe what it is and people around you, you've had it for so long, they're like, I don't know how to support you anymore.
Right. You got to find your community and find people out there who you can like listen to and talk to and resonate with you.
Yeah. So like community. So that's why I think we're like, just before we get into our fun time, for anyone that's listening that is part of the actual like chronic community and not just our friends who like to hear us laugh, I know that the hope component is so difficult. And that's something that he and I chatted about is like, again, deciding to have hope. Remember Brie and I, that was one of our episodes. It's so painful and so difficult. And it's something I was reminding myself actively of this last week. It's like, there is still value in this moment, in this day. Like it might not be the best day. Yeah. I might not feel 1,000% and I have all the things going for me that I want, but like there is an opportunity still to make this a decent day. There's a way to have a glimmer of something positive. And it's so hard, but like we do have to take responsibility for it. And he and I were vibing on that of like, that's true. That's always the truth and that's always available. Can we pull it off or not? That's one thing. But I do think that when you have a Jamie, when you have a community, a parent, whatever, even a boss that gives a fuck, you know, to be able to
somebody,
I think we need to like give ourselves permission, especially if we've been chronically in something that like, it's still okay to ask for help or like
100%
say you're not doing okay, even if it's been months, weeks, years.
And we've said this so many times in all of your conversations with people and just us together too, that like lose the shame part of it. There's no shame in saying, I can't do this. There's no shame in saying, I don't feel good or I can't, you know what I mean?
Or this is hard.
It's fucking hard.
It's fucking hard.
And by the way, I feel like haven't humans always been like community based since like cavemen? Like they all like for survival you had to well, you're supposed to be. But I guess what I'm saying is, of course, if you'd like to, you may go through life alone, you know, do what you'd like to do, but lean on your people. Like talk to them. I think you and I also, by the way, like we are very independent people.
Yes.
And it has taken a lot for us, like me, like leaning on you and Julie so much this last year, being like, I don't know what to do. But also like you too, just being like, okay, I will accept that I cannot do this. Can you guys please help me with XYZ? Yeah. Like, it's okay.
It's okay. And I think that was part of my last week was letting myself say, this is hard. Like everything that I'm struggling with right now is hard and it's okay. And I was able to cry because I think a lot of times I don't cry and I stay in this like kind of numbed out, stressed out place. And I'm just kind of like white knuckling through, but being able to do that loving self-compassion and like literally hug myself and thank you. God, I think about that sometimes. Y'all, if you missed that episode,
go back, listen to Squeeze in One.
Yeah. I think it was the fun one where it was Follow the Fun, maybe.
Follow the Fun, and Meg hugs herself to her whole body from her toes to her head. And she says, thank you.
And recorded it because I was high as fuck. Anyway.
A reminder to thank your body.
Reminder to thank your body. Thank yourself. Like Snoop Dogg says, thank you to me. I did this shit.
Thank you.
Yeah. But so I think, being able to acknowledge like this is hard. I'm allowed to be sad that this is hard, and I'm allowed to ask for help. And like, it helps you at least get through step 1. Like, we can't get to step 10 of feeling better if we can't go to step 1 of like, this is hard.
Right.
So I want to shout out my buddy who's also listening.
Thank you for listening, and commenting and just being part of a community.
And you are going to fucking figure this out. And what that looks like, we don't know. If that means...
But we're here for you if you need us.
We here. And so is the chronic community. And so... Yeah. Yes, we wanted to shout that out.
Yeah, we love our shout outs.
And now back to spooky season in my brain.
So in the theme of our brains are scary, everything is scary. Okay. So I love horror movies. Meg does not.
Nope.
So I've compiled a list of fairly iconic horror characters and just general movies if there isn't like a specific ghosty thing.
Okay.
I'm going to give Meg like the title of the movie and the character. I'm going to give her a quick little synopsis of like what the movie is about, what the character is about. And then Meg/I, we are going to take the issue that this person or thing has, and we're going to give it some positive chronic advice. Okay? And as a disclaimer, I tried to do some iconic ones, classics, newer ones. This is not every movie. I have left a lot out. So if you love horror movies, please don't come for me. I mean, like, you have an opinion on the internet, so you're welcome to.
Jamie will come back for you.
Please don't come for me. This is just like a general from my brain. Okay, great.
And I have 0 point of reference for any of this.
For most of them, I mean, you've seen bits and bobs maybe of these things.
Sure. I mean, I'm an American.
I've heard of
scary movies. I'm in the culture. Well,
all right.
Maybe some of them.
So number 1. We're starting out with a good classic, I think. Ghostface.
Ghostface
from the Scream franchise.
Great. Haven't seen Scream. Can you believe that? Ever.
Oh, God, I didn't know
Even though I choreographed an entire Thunderbolt finale show to the theme of Scream.
So this is a franchise. I'll just say, so the first one is Sydney.
Okay.
Played by Neve Campbell. Her and her high school friends, and they're in the town. And
she's getting the phone call. This is the phone call girl.
This is the phone calls, right? So like, what's your favorite scary movie? And then a guy in the Ghostface costume murders people, but it's really tormenting Sydney specifically.
Okay.
And then it kind of comes out that her boyfriend Billy and who's very hot, and his best friend Stu, played by Matthew Lillard.
These are killer names.
They're so great. But like, yeah, Stu. Well, it's really Billy. Billy is her boyfriend. However, Billy's, if I get this wrong, don't come for me. I didn't write the synopsis. I thought Meg would have known about them. Basically, Billy's dad, I think, slept with Sydney's mom and like was abandoned, and he has taken revenge out on Sydney and her family.
Got it.
But they end up dying in the end, so Billy is no longer alive. So like,
wait, Ghostface is taking out revenge?
Yeah, something along those lines.
Or a family being broken up by a parent. Got it.
And he takes it out on Sydney. He kidnaps the dad. The dad's been in the closet the whole time.
She's technically innocent, but
she's like, fuck you, bitch. You have such an idyllic life, and my life is terrible because of all this. I got some of these points wrong. Again, don't come for me, okay?
This is more of a character study, guys.
But so here's the thing. But the thing is that with the franchise, Billy died in that first movie. Guys, there's going to be spoilers galore if you've never seen these movies.
Turn this off.
You may not want to listen to this episode. Yeah. You know? Anyway, so Billy and Stu die. They're the first original killers dead.
Wow.
Next.
Wait, Billy's a killer?
Yeah.
Her boyfriend is Ghostface?
Yeah.
Who's Stu?
His best friend who he gets to like do this with him. But Stu also dies.
Stu's a bitch.
And it sucks because like Stu was such a fun character.
So Sydney wins.
She does.
Great.
You know, that begs to be seen.
Do you win?
It's a franchise, so who really wins?
Trauma. Okay.
Anyway, I'm going to also mess this up. But the whole thing is that like with this fucking franchise, there's like long lineages of like family being hurt by someone. And then family members of that party go on to murder sort of like people who didn't have anything to do with the whole thing. They keep wanting to murder Sydney. Just
chaos.
But I know, but she was such a party to a thing that really wasn't her fault. It keeps going. But I wrote down Ghostface specifically is always someone who is seeking revenge for their family. They love scary movies, and they love testing people on their horror movie trivia knowledge and then punishing them for lack of that knowledge. Thoughts and feelings.
What a bully.
Thoughts and feelings.
Thoughts and feelings are we analyzing Ghostface?
Yeah, but there's like, because Ghostface changes every movie. It is always a different person. There is some sort of like somewhat thing tying them the whole time, but like not
this
really.
Is such a like. People are gonna listen to this episode and be like, "Wow, what a boner killer!"
Here's
Meg's
the
taking
thing.
all of our favorite things and she's gonna make them practical. Boo!
Listen,
Boo.
If there isn't some sort of practicality in horror movies, I get very upset. So Ghostface is someone who is always seeking revenge on behalf of their family with violence.
Well, it's just funny because it's not going to be funny, my response. So I was at my Buddhist meeting literally this morning and we were talking about, no, it's so funny. We were talking about how it's the idea of severing our attachments to incorrect beliefs.
Whoa.
Yeah. And so the article that we were studying was all about how a human tendency is to think that our beliefs are correct and we know the best way, even if it's like with a positive intention of like, I know what's best for people or I know it's the best way to solve this situation. That arrogance is what leads to war and destruction. Whoa.
You're blowing my mind right now.
And so, and the remedy to that is one, that it's like imperative that all people are critically thinking about, is my belief system actually correct? And the only way to know that is if I can have a constructive dialogue with other people that have different belief systems and I'm seeking to actually understand them and not just get my point across.
Okay, so I'm obsessed with everything you're saying right now because if only the killers in these movies
chanted Namyo Horenge Kyo
could do this, they would find nonviolent peace. Unfortunately, they do think they're correct, and they have moved forward being like, die, bitch! Vengeance.
Well, that's why we have great movies. I'm
obsessed with that, and I really... Ghostface,
you could have just taken a beat.
Buddhism.
Ghostface needs Buddhism.
Wow.
But ultimately, at the very, very, very root of it is that when we don't value our life, we don't value the lives of others.
Ghostface certainly does not.
And when we don't feel like we're in control of our lives, we exert our control on others. So anyone that is violent, cruel, manipulative, those people deep down, they don't trust themselves, they don't love themselves, and they don't feel like they have any control over their lives or their circumstances.
Meg has just blown my mind. I'm obsessed that this is the first one. Thank you so much. Okay, great.
Bye, Ghostface.
Bye, Ghostface. Moving on. Well, you know what? No, don't call Meg. She will know none of the answers to your trivia questions.
Oh, no, I'll die.
Which, by the way, just really quickly, the whole Ghostface like trivia situation, it was a fun aspect of these movies. It's gotten lost, and I actually don't think if it has any point to the movies. I just realized.
Just for fun. It was just some nerd who was stroking himself.
Really do it anymore. Doesn't do it anymore.
Great.
Okay, moving on.
Great.
It Follows. Which is the whole synopsis, which I think you have heard a little bit as.
Only because our friend made a parody where it's an STD.
It's so good. Okay.
So
a girl
funny.
sleeps with her boyfriend and contracts a fatal curse that is passed on through sex. Essentially, this girl, she fucks her boyfriend. He is cursed. She does not know. And
aren't they all?
She becomes cursed. And essentially, if you don't stop the curse, you are murdered by a ghost that only you can see. There's a lot of walking in this movie. It's not my favorite. Honestly, I get it.
So much walking.
I get it, though. I don't love when ghosts are not quick. I think it should be fast. Kind of like The Walking Dead, y'all. Just fucking run away from them. I'm just saying. Anyway, so this is also obviously commentary on safe sex, STDs. That's really what the whole commentary on the film is about. And I know that it is widely applauded.
As much as I don't like scary movies, the few times I've been forced into watching them, every time I'm like, the horror films are commentary.
Yes, they're brilliant. They really
are.
I mean, listen, they could be dumb as fuck, but also very smart. And this is one of those that it was very smart. I actually think you probably could deal with watching this. This is a little bit in the talk to me-ish genre, only in the sense that like the movie is all humans. Like the ghosts that come at you they're dead, but they just look like regular people. No.
Okay.
Unless one of them doesn't have a leg, but she just kind of hops at you. You know what I mean? Like, why am I scared? This is sort of an amorphic curse. There is not one specific ghost.
Yes.
However, I said, girl, and I'm talking to the lead, but also everybody, don't be afraid to ask for STD test results. Not in this universe. I don't think this curse would show up if you got one. But as a commentary on STDs, I do think that there is still embarrassment about asking someone you're about to be intimate with or sleep with, have you been tested? When were you tested? And not just taking them, like, you want to take people at their word, but like,
show me the money.
Show me the money. I'll show you mine if you show me yours. In both more ways than one.
Before we show each other.
So just like to everyone out there, like, do not be afraid. And like, if a guy or whoever, if someone says, what, you don't trust me? No, I definitely don't. I definitely don't now because you're being a dick about it.
Because I might get haunted and then murdered by your dick.
Literally. But don't be afraid to ask for STD results. Be like, hey, here is a copy of my negative results. Could you please send me yours? And if they say, well, I was just tested recently. Okay, well, have you slept with someone between that test and now? That test doesn't count now. You know what I mean? So anyway, so like, don't be afraid of getting tested regularly. Don't be afraid. But like, some people I think are also, I know that too. Like, it is scary. You don't want to know the truth, right? If you're afraid of, like, you're afraid you have something.
Yes.
But also there is stigma around STDs. So if you have one, for the most part, there are ones that can't be, but there is cures. There's good medicine these days. Just like, you can take control of the situation. And I think don't be afraid of that.
Oh, I had a friend who was very sex positive and she got herpes from a partner who lied to her about it.
Ugh, awful.
Really annoying. So annoying. But it was hard for her moving forward because she was like, wow, now I don't feel as sexually like free and all these things. But then I think ultimately a conversation we had about it is like, every obstacle that comes up, like everything we talk about chronic, every obstacle initially feels very painful. Yeah. And it's like, oh my God, impossible. My life is over. But again, the Buddhist way is every obstacle is an opportunity. And so what is this going to open up for me? Or what is this telling me about myself? So it's like, I know I had a period of my early 20s where I was self-destructive and like wasn't always practicing safe sex and walked away with a clean bill of health. How did she?
You're one of the people. I have no idea how this happens.
By an angel, it followed. I don't know. But
it hovered.
It blessed. She is blessed and squeaky clean. So with this conversation with my friend, she had to change her sex practices a little bit, but it actually created a lot more intimacy because she wanted to have like, you know, adventurous sex and try lots of things, but it actually forced her to be a little bit more vulnerable. And then she was able to find actually like better partners that were more caring, more communicative. And so it actually opened something up where she was able to have a very fulfilling sex life, but it was an improvement, even though, you still have herpes and it still have flare-ups and that's painful and that sucks. But
it's not the end.
It's not the end. And so like an STD is not the end.
No.
And I do think, there is still shame and stigma, but then like, that's not the person you should be sleeping with if they're making you feel some type of way. And it's also someone's choice not to sleep with you. Like someone once told
100%.
me they had herpes and I decided not to have sex with them. And that was my choice.
That's okay.
That's okay.
But like, you should be mindful of yourself, mindful of others. And also know that, like, kind of going back to our original in the beginning of this episode, like, there's also community out there if like you're feeling alone in that world. Yeah. For sure.
And on top of that, like, it all comes down to, again, in Buddhism, to harm another is to harm yourself. We think that like we can make a bad cause and do some shit and we're just going to get away with it. But you do not get away with anything.
Meg is blowing my mind with
because the law of cause and effect is absolute. So for every cause you make, an effect registers in the universe. And when that manifests in your life, you don't know. And I'm not saying karma is all negative and everything is coming to get you. But if you do some shit like sleep, like someone once did to me,
on purpose,
where we sleep together and after the fact you tell me that you have an STD and now I didn't have the choice and the opportunity to like make that decision for myself. Anyway, that's my trauma. But if everything that you do, so you withholding information or you doing something that could potentially harm another person, that's a negative cause for your own life. Yeah. So just like do the responsible thing.
And don't give people curses.
And don't curse people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
Wow, Meg, you're literally blowing my mind with these. It's fucking fantastic. Okay. So next up, we have the Friday the 13th franchise, Jason Voorhees. Okay. So the original is a little confusing because actually in the original, his mother was the killer.
Oh, God. I do feel like I need to watch. It's such a culturally relevant movie. I can't believe I've never seen it.
Kevin Bacon is in it. In the 80s. It's fantastic. Okay. So the whole thing is that there were all these the 80s guys, sexually charged, hot camp counselors at Camp Crystal Lake.
I'm obsessed.
So the original story is that a boy back in the 50s, Jason, drowned in the lake while the counselors were having sex. They were not watching him when they should have.
Classic.
Years later, now we're in the 80s, they decide to reopen Camp Crystal Lake, even though the town keeps being like, it's cursed, don't go there.
Oh, it closed because of the death.
Yes. But then they're like, we're reopening Camp Crystal Lake. Nothing bad will happen. And they decide to reopen it despite the incident, and all of the counselors are murdered. So the original killer is Jason's mother, who was the cook at the camp. She comes back as the cook. She keeps being like, what's going on? And then behind the scenes, murder.
Stab.
And then, eventually Jason is also the killer, which, by the way, is confusing as Jason died as a child. Jason, as we know him, is a large man that cannot be killed and seemingly is incredibly strong with a machete. Why? No one knows.
Wait, Jason comes back to life?
Meg, I wish I could explain anything about this franchise. There's a movie
this is the guy with the hockey mask, right?
Mm-hmm. By the way, there's also
I would have never known that this is what that movie is about, having seen this picture my entire life.
Yeah.
What year is this movie?
Well, the original's in the 80s.
Okay.
And then forever it keeps going. Honestly, I think there's a version of Jason where he's in space. So listen, Jason, anyway.
You mean Ghost Space Killer?
So I do also obviously want to hear your thoughts. My initial thoughts that I wrote down are for Jason, because we have Mrs. Voorhees as the original killer, but also Jason.
Are they killing concurrently? They're both killing in this movie?
No.
She kills in the first movie. He kills in the later movies. Mm-hmm. Goodness.
So for Jason, I actually think maybe he should get some just good old fashioned sex education. I think he passed away at an age where he wasn't getting sex education probably just yet. I wrote, he seems pissed that sex ruined his life, which isn't completely untrue, but maybe he just doesn't understand it because he was too young when he died.
Well,
little education never hurt no one.
Is the sex part important? So it's like he died because of
these
negligence.
dirty teens having sex.
Okay.
Were having sex, neglected him, and he died.
So he's angry about this. The sex is a big part
Well, I think his life was stolen from him. Although one more time, Jason died as a child. He comes back as an adult killer. Life happened somewhere, so I don't know why he's upset.
Did he experience like adolescence
in the afterlice? It's really confusing. It's guys. He's confused.
He went to middle school abroad.
Listen, I appreciate that Jason is a horror icon, but it's confusing.
It doesn't make any sense.
It doesn't have to. Anyway, Mrs.
The suspension of disbelief in horror films.
For real.
Like when you were telling me about
deep
the one in the pool, and I said it was a pooltergeist.
Oh, it's so good. Anyway, so
chaos.
So Jason.
Well, it's actually it's funny that you're saying Jason, because I'm actually
on the
mom.
Yeah.
Because
I wrote maybe a grief group.
She needed a grief group.
And this was the wrong grief group.
No.
She came to camp.
No, but actually it's funny that you say grief group, because I didn't even mean for all this to turn into Buddhist parables.
I'm so excited.
But it's pulling all of these little nuggets out of my brain.
So
there's this beautiful story. I heard myself.
I can't wait.
She contains multitudes, folks.
I'm so excited.
No, there was this really beautiful parable where a woman comes to Shakyamuni's door, and her baby has died, and she is beyond herself with remorse, and she thinks that the baby's still alive. Ooh. And so she's going from door to door asking for medicine for her baby. And she comes to Shakyamuni and, please, like, help my baby get better. Mm-hmm. And actually, I think the baby's dead. I'm dead. I should look this up. The baby.
That might be the one.
This beautiful story. The baby's actually dead. Again, not so important. So the baby,
alive or dead?
Dead baby.
I'm crying. That was so funny.
Oh my god. Okay, so I think, let me just tell it this way. I think the baby has passed away, but she won't acknowledge that the baby is dead. She thinks like I need to find the cure for my baby, and so the Shakyamuni says to her, I want you to go to every house in the village and I want you to bring me mustard seeds from a family who has never experienced a loss. And so she goes to every single home in the village, and no one can give her mustard seeds.
They've all had loss.
And by the time she gets back to Shakyamuni, she has stopped grieving, or she has finally accepted, and
everyone has it,
because everyone has experienced death. And in that way, she's able to find some comfort of I'm not alone in my grief.
Okay, interesting. Okay, so Mrs. Voorhees, you are not alone. And actually, this probably also kind of goes back to what you were saying for Scream, which is like she thinks that she's gonna make herself feel better if she does this and punishes others who had nothing to do with her son's incident.
And maybe it's like make you feel better. Maybe a temporary, and this literally goes back to all of the initial things we were talking about, people that they keep perpetuating the violence because they think it's going to heal some sort of wound, but you're actually that wound is getting bigger and deeper, and now you're living with the fact that I've done horrible things.
And actually, the whole thing with the grief stuff, and we might kind of pick up on this again later. Actually, will we? I don't know. With grief, because I've gone through that, as has almost everyone, in some way, shape, or form.
We've all got mustard seeds.
But the thing I've said in the past, too, that I really like about grief that is said in a lot of places, like, you think that grief is the kind of thing that you can move past. And you will wake up one day and it won't be here anymore. But really, it's this thing that you just grow around it. The grief will get sort of smaller. It will always be with you, but grief gets smaller and you just grow around it.
It's like watching a tree grow around a fence.
Yeah. but she thinks that she'll get past it and she'll move on if she like does all these terrible things. Like, see what you did.
Well, and you want the pain to go away so quickly. And we were talking about that. We talked about that a lot, where it's like, I want, like, where's the ripcord? Like, make this stop hurting now. And so we frantically do these big, like,
kind of also you with your pain too, right? Like, you're just like, oh my God, panic. Get me out.
And versus like, okay, well, maybe there isn't a quick fix to this.
Which, by the way, get me out and quick fix is a great segue to our next one. We are going to talk about Jigsaw in the Saw franchise.
This one I fucking do know, and I have feelings.
You've seen it?
Oh, I saw it as a child, the first one, and I was like, oh, it's the guy from
Princess Bride.
Okay,
so something I do want to say about the Saw franchise is I've seen all of them.
Horrifying.
All of them.
They're so fucked up.
There's like 11 at this point, or 12.
Even as a child, sorry to interrupt, but even as a child, I was like, I was freaked out by somebody wrote this, meaning this shit is in someone's brain, and that as a child flipped me out.
Unfortunately, I mean, they're so sensational, right? Which is why they've continued to make a lot of money, and they will continue to make money, because you're just like, well, what the fuck else can they come up with? I'm even just like, truly, how do you come up with these things, as you're saying?
So gross.
I mean, my opinion stands that 1 through 3 are the best ones. 4, I give a nod to, only because Donnie Wahlberg gets his head smashed by 2 giant ice cubes. It's one of the best deaths in a movie ever.
Where they get giant ice cubes?
Listen to the sentence I just said. It's a contraption, and they smash his head, and it's wild. How did they make them? Why didn't they melt? Why did that exist?
I want to watch the cutaway to just them making the ice cubes and how long that took.
Those production designers, I mean, hats off to you guys, because that's a lot of work making all of these things.
Wow.
Anyway, but so 1 through 3 are the best ones. 1 I also love the best because when he gets up, because he's,
it's so dirty,
it looks like a dead guy, right, is in the room with them. When he gets up at the end of the movie, I lost my mind. Who saw that coming?
No, it's a great reveal.
Who the fuck's... Close the door. It's fantastic. Anyway, okay, so the overall theme, though, as I know, but this continues throughout, but like the overall theme is that Jigsaw is wanting people to learn to appreciate their lives, and he devises all manner of these horrific tests.
I've already got
to see what they would do to learn a hard lesson. And it also, by the way, it stems from like he has cancer. Mm-hmm. That's the first one. He has cancer. His doctor. A lot of times it is a doctor, because that's been in multiple movies but it is also people.
Wait, that's a really funny thing that we have talked so much in Chronic about, like doctors and the frustration of the medical system, and then like I didn't realize how many horror movies are people being frustrated about doctors.
But it's true, like he was sort of dismissed as someone who like couldn't be saved, and he would not accept his also kind of like things that you say. He did not accept that prognosis. He was like, you cannot tell me it's over. Did you think of other things to do? But all the time, though, he wants these people. And actually, his main accomplice, Amanda, she was a drug addict. Actually, kind of sometimes, though, they're just terrible people or just random bad people.
Wow.
But like his main accomplice, she was a drug addict. He put her with the contraption that would reverse bear trap her face.
I was literally just gonna bring up bear trap.
And he put her in the room, and her options were have your face fucking ripped open.
Doesn't have to go into her tummy.
If you want to live, you have to cut open the belly of this guy that you don't know on the floor. The key is somehow in his stomach, and he's alive. But she's one of the only ones who wanted to live so badly that she just did it. And so he really respected her for that. And she stopped doing drugs for the rest of her life. She was like, he saved me and now I will do his bidding.
It's fucking scared
anyway,
straight.
I think that he is very creative and he ultimately does want people to do the right thing.
Artist points.
You know, it seems like he is the moral one. That is subjective. I mean, it's subjective.
That's wild
because
subjective. It's literally the first thing I said about when we believe that we are right or isn't that God, these are all such crazy commentary.
And that's not every movie. Sometimes it's just like, hey, this person sucks. Murder them. But anyway,
What's in the box?
But there is a lot of moral questions, a lot of moral things going on in these films.
Well, it is.
Thoughts
it
and
is.
Feelings, Meg.
I mean, it's so funny. It's like moral questions. Like, we know what's moral. Don't kill people. It is. It's the absolute arrogance of we think that we can take a life. But no, it's interesting. I had two nuggets that came up right away. One is, it's so interesting. He was acting, again, not in a Buddhistic way at all, but ultimately Shakyamuni, when he wanted to spread the teachings of Buddhism, because Shakyamuni was a dude. He was not some god or anything. He was just a guy in India, and he became enlightened to the fact that, like, wow, we are all unlimited. We all have like infinite potential. We can transform all obstacles. We can become happy in this lifetime.
I love
but
that.
at the time, this was like a caste system India. This was so long ago, 2,000 years ago, 2,500 years ago. So he knew that he had to preach to people at their capacity at what the times were.
Okay.
So he knew that if I walk, this is a caste system, right? Women are property. Certain people are considered dirt, right? Some people are considered like shaman or high up. And so he knew if I want to get through to people, I need to start where they are. So I need to have a teaching that says that's something that they can get their minds around and chew on. Okay, well, you can become happy and attain enlightenment if you do a lot of good deeds in this lifetime. Next lifetime, you'll come back and it'll be whatever. And people are like, okay, I can fuck with that. And then as people became more enlightened, as he was able to awaken them, right? He kept progressing his teachings. So it's like you go to a dojo to learn how to play karate. I'd like to learn how to play karate, please. But you go and you start out as like a white belt or some shit.
Yes.
You can't go in there and be doing black belt. You have no foundation.
Right.
So you slowly make your way up the belts. Eventually you get to black belt, which is a mastery, right? So same idea around philosophy. So he had to slowly bring people up to the level of mostly men being like, hey guys, BTW, women have the same capacity to become enlightened.
What?
Women are equal.
What?
And people were like, if he had come hot out of the gate with that, people would have been like, nah, go fuck yourself. Women are not equal.
Wow. That's so strange. It sort of feels like commentary on what's happening in our country now.
But so the wisdom behind that and the wisdom behind those, like this idea of teachings, it's called expedient means. So it's like, I'm going to give you something to meet your capacity, even though I know I'm going to eventually get you to a higher level of understanding. I got to give you expedient means to get there. So ultimately, this fucking Jigsaw dude, it's like he ultimately he wants to awaken people to the fact that life is precious. Ultimately.
Yes.
But unfortunately, his expedient means are really fucked up. Torturous murder. So
actually, no, and actually that's like the whole thing, because he said all this shit up, but they always have a way to get out. It's just up to them to get out. So technically he didn't murder anybody.
Oopsie.
He just like, you know, drugged them and got them in the situation in the first place.
He still murdered them.
I'm just
he
saying,
still did it.
He's a party too.
But ultimately too, it's like, it's the same thing where he's putting it in front of somebody. Cause same thing, like Shakyamuni wasn't like, you have to do this and you have to believe
They're given
this.
a choice.
They
are given a choice. Well, die. Or
kill or be killed.
I mean it
literally.
Is. But that's actually really interesting that you're saying it like that. He is trying. I mean, he's trying to enlighten people. Like, wake up.
Fundamentally,
like, yes. No, we're not excusing. We're not excusing anything.
Which is the root of a lot of these things that we see in the world, where people are like, "I want you so badly to understand me and have empathy for me and to do the right thing, but you don't." But ultimately, I think like, yeah. So what's his face? Jigsaw. He had a good.
Yeah, it's hard to say it because like, wow, he's a murderous, terrible person. But I see what you're saying.
Ultimately, he wants people to awaken to the preciousness of life.
Yes. By
dangling their own lives in front of them, which is not what the Buddha would do.
No. So actually, our advice to Jigsaw is like maybe less violence, less torturing, murdering, body part pull apart. Okay,
great. This is so fun.
This is so fun. Okay, I'm gonna do this last one. We have Pearl. You haven't seen Pearl.
I have not seen Pearl.
All right, sorry guys, we're gonna wrap it up with one last one. Her character's name is Pearl. The movie is also called Pearl.
Do you know that Margaret also means Pearl? My name.
Oh my God, we're absolutely doing this one. Also, you're just gonna love this one anyway.
Okay.
So Pearl is the second in a trilogy. It's more of like an anthological. I don't know if that's a word, trilogy.
Okay.
It's like an anthology where they all kind of go together, but they don't go together because Mia Goth plays the lead character in all three of the movies. The first one is X. I fucking love that movie. X, and actually old Pearl.
Not to be confused with Twitter.
No, but old Pearl is one of the killers in X. Pearl is like the origin story of that woman, Pearl. And then Maxine is the last one. But
with the 3 X's, right?
Yep. All right. So Pearl. In 1918, a young woman on the brink of, this is how it was described. A young woman on the brink of madness pursues stardom in a desperate attempt to escape the drudgery, isolation, and lovelessness of her life on her parents' farm.
Is this my story? I'm just kidding.
but so it's 1918. We're in World War I. She is married. Her husband is off in the war, and he's been there for God knows how long.
Okay.
So she's alone with her mother, who is German and came to the United States for a better life. And her father, I forget if they even say it, he has some sort of wheelchair bound illness. And she has dreams of being a star. She's
a caretaker.
Because movies have really sort of.
Or this is the one you're like, I'm going to be a star.
I'm going to be a star. She screams. She's fantastic. Mia Goth with her little, what is it? Peppa Pig voice is fantastic. Okay. But so she. Like, her mother is not nice to her, and her mom is like, you're a very silly, stupid girl for thinking you could ever be a star. And she's like, I know I could be famous. When? And she really just takes care of the farm. She helps her mother take care of her father. That's really her life. Until one day, she goes into the town, because they live off on a farm somewhere. She rides her bike
down to the soda shop.
Well, she gets like 2 pennies. It kind of seems like, God, the 1918s. What was life?
Look, 2 pennies.
She goes into the town, and when she's in town running errands, she sees like the pictures and like secretly. So she's watching the pictures, and she's like, oh, I can see myself and the hot guy who runs the theater. She has a little time with him at some point, and she ends up murdering him.
Bouncy.
She murders him. She murders her mother. She murders her father. She murders everybody. But her husband eventually comes home from the war, and he's like, you good? And she's like, you're home. She's crazy. She really is crazy.
He was off murdering people. She was home murdering people.
That's such a good point. Okay, but anyway, so at some point in the movie, her sister-in-law comes over, who's like beautiful and blonde and cute. And God, the fucking blondes always get it, don't they? But there's going to be a church show, like a Christmas show. And they're auditioning girls for the show. And so Pearl is like, this is my moment. I'm going to show them I'm a star.
Been there.
So she goes to audition.
Not great.
They're just like, next. You don't have, thank you so much. No, I don't even know if they say thank you. And also weird, like, of course she's having like delusions of grandeur as she looks at the judges or whatever, the auditioning, and they're all the faces of like her mother, like her dead mother, who is saying, you're never gonna do it. And she's like, no, I'm a star. Give me a chance. Like, I can do this. Like, I'm a star. You're all crazy. And they're all like, I think you're crazy. So, and she also murders her sister-in-law at some point too.
Zoinks.
I wrote, don't give up on your dream.
I'm dead.
Don't murder people either.
Oh,
Murder's not the answer, not the best way to deal with rejection. But just because you feel trapped, lost, I literally wrote, you can totally change your state
without murdering someone
and get away from people and places that hold you back or keep you from achieving your dream. A lot, like a big theme is obviously her feeling rejected. She felt rejected by the hot guy the movie theater guy who realized.
And the ultimate rejection is death. So I
tried to get away.
I'm going to permanently reject you.
Her sister-in-law gets the part in the show over her.
Of course.
Murder. Her mother is like, you suck.
Murder.
As a daughter and as an actress. Murder. And eventually I think her father is just a witness and can't move and murders him as well. Unfortunately, he really didn't do much.
Can I get a witness?
But so, what do we think about Pearl?
I actually think that Pearl is completely justified.
Okay. Guys.
This is much too close to home.
No, but there's a lot of themes here of like things we've talked about.
Oh, I'm dying.
And kind of going back to talking about your friend or our viewer earlier, but just like what happens when you like
feel totally trapped.
Yes.
I thought there was one moment we could go down one road of commentary, which I thought was an interesting kind of, they probably didn't even mean to do this in the movie, but the fact that like he was off at war killing and she's home killing, but she's the crazy one,
you know,
because she's killing like because of her motivation versus his motivation.
It's possible. I don't remember them ever that's ever mentioned, but because the focus isn't really the war,
right?
It's just
the backdrop. It's just the time period.
Yeah,
but I still think it's.
I also do think though she does think that she can kind of get away from all of this life, even though she does care for her husband. I think she thinks he never will come home. I think she fully expects that he's not going to, because by the way, that is also something that was happening to so many people at that time, just waiting for them to show up at your door with a letter. Right.
I mean, I think this is literally how we started the episode, which is how I talked about how in the past when things felt out of control and I felt completely stuck and I would get self-destructive. And like, it's not that she was like stabbing herself, but I would say it's highly self-destructive to murder all your friends and family, because you feel like there are no other options. There's no way out. So it's like
also dealing with not the best way to deal with rejection, and she obviously has no self-reflection.
Well, she
I know we're trying to find positive.
This poor girl. We're not trying to find positive. We're trying to find the psychology behind all of it. No, really, it's like also it's interesting. Like the time period, 1918.
Yeah.
As a woman, does she have other options? Not really.
No.
It's like, does she have any resources? No. You said she had 2 pennies to go see a movie, but it's
no,
not
like literally her mother's a scene where her her mother gives her the money to go buy, I assume like milk or something. I don't know, like buy some sort of like a potato, and she's supposed to go to the store. She watches the movie.
Go get a potato.
And when she comes home, her mother is like, "Where is the change?"
Yeah.
And she gives it and she said, "What'd you do with it?"
So this is all.
I know how much I gave you and I know how much this milk and potato costs.
Truly just back to.
And they're very poor. They're not wealthy. So like whatever money they do have, because also during the war, right?
It's powerlessness. So we're back to powerlessness.
A lot of levels.
We're back to violence being a reaction to powerlessness.
So, okay, she should. So Pearl. Try to like, listen, I know it sucks right now, but like just try to have a little bit of like, this is not real. Like I shouldn't. No, but like what we were talking about, like our brains are scary. So like, I know I feel crazy and awful right now.
No other options. My other option is to murder everyone.
No, but remember, like we were saying, like, yes, that's one option.
Yes.
But the other is to like, okay, this isn't real. Let me just try to wake up tomorrow and like see how I feel. Although I think there are multiple days in this movie and she continues to feel the same way.
You know what? Again, she just needed community.
She didn't have any.
Needed community. She needed a place to go where she would be celebrated, where she could grow and thrive.
I will say she did find solace with the hot movie guy. She ends up fucking him. And then...
Okay, but again, solace. Oh my God, this is so weird because I remember when I felt like I didn't have community back when I told you I was making poor sexual choices and I didn't feel like I had any friends around me. I didn't feel like I had a lot of community and I was going off and doing and like lose myself in something or someone and have like, it's just really, she had that moment of solace, but it wasn't fixing the problem.
No, it's
right?
like a Band-Aid.
It's a Band-Aid. And that's what I was Band-Aiding. And so we go, and again, still kind of destructive.
Yeah.
And a temporary fix. So what Pearl really, really needed
was community.
She needed a community, and she needed something that's like more long term.
Yeah. I will say
she needed Chronic the podcast.
No, obviously. I will say I'm now that we keep talking about it, I'm like, it's so, it's hard with these synopses because you are missing so many details. But
of course.
She goes to find solace with the hot guy, and I can't remember if she ever ends up telling him like, I'm actually married. Ooh, whoops. But he definitely is like into her, and they sleep together, and I think he shows her dirty movies actually, and he's like, you could be in these. They're in Paris. Like, we can go to first step. We'll go to Paris together. But then he comes to the house, I think he definitely sees like the dead bodies, or he figures out that like she's actually crazy because she tries to fuck him again, and he's like, I think your dead someone is in the other room, and she's like, don't worry about it.
Okay, so
he tries to leave.
More than community.
And she's like, we're gonna go to Paris together. Murder.
All right, so my last nugget here.
We may not find a positivity in this one.
So it's more than community. I'm going back to the Buddhist idea and the general mental health idea that we do need to find the best doctors and the best medicine, and so sometimes we really do have something going on and we can't fix it ourselves. And I struggled for a lot of years where I thought that I had to fix and figure out what was going on with me by myself. And it was not helpful. And when I finally got the right people to support me and the right things to support me, I saw a lot of improvement. In Buddhism, it's about bringing forth the wisdom to get the best people and resources around you.
She was very much like I'm a one woman wagon, and that's
we don't have to be one woman wagons.
We don't, Pearl.
A one woman wagon, that sounds like a great song, but we don't have, Jamie, this is a perfect tie up because we don't have to be one women wagons.
You don't have to be alone.
No.
Pearl, anyone.
She probably needed a psychiatrist. She probably needed some meds. She probably needed some talk therapy.
So much.
A retreat, some gal pals.
Oh, no gal pals. I mean, well, she killed one of them, so it doesn't matter. Meg, thank you for entertaining me
Thank
so
you
much.
for entertaining me. This was entertaining.
Was so fucking fun. I hope you guys really enjoyed this. Meg, you were killing me every time with the fucking nuggets and spinning it around, and I'm like, my mind is blown from every movie we touched on.
It's so profound.
Oh, it's fantastic. No,
we all just want to be loved. We all just want to be loved.
No, it's true. And also, like, violence isn't the way.
Violence is not the way, y'all. If you take one,
but it is entertaining. So no, that was a terrible message.
But if you do, people will pay attention to you.
Fake violence and murder in movies is entertaining.
Because we aren't scared enough in our daily lives that we need to feel the adrenaline of watching other people be scared.
I think it's just a good time. It's a good time. Okay. Fun. So what are our we just said last nugget was like, you're not alone.
You're not alone.
Community.
Don't be alone. Kind of jumping off of this, like if you have a story, if you have something, or you have a friend or whatever, somebody that's going through something, and you want like maybe a new perspective on it, send it in.
Reach out.
Do it.
Yeah. Tell us
before your friends murder people. Just kidding.
No, but like, we hope that you guys are sharing the podcast with people. Be like, oh, like if this resonates with you, or it would resonate with a friend, I hope that you guys are sharing it.
Yeah.
But anything that you want to hear us talk about,
we'll talk about it.
We'll talk about it.
Pretty much.
Anything.
So go ahead, and if you want to email us, it is podchronic@gmail.com. If you want to follow us on socials, chronic_pod at TikTok and Instagram.
And also chronic_pod on YouTube as well. And again, just a reminder, if you're listening to us audibly with your ears, you can listen to us on Spotify, Apple, everywhere that you would listen to podcasts. But you can also watch us with your eyes on YouTube if you'd prefer for a more visual
And you know
experience.
what? I wore my Let's Sacrifice Toby shirt just for today, which I know is a violent thing for me to wear. But
well, I was going to wear my Jason Voorhees Friday the 13th shirt, but I was very hot earlier. So I
am sweating through this shirt right now.
Yeah, so I chose cool over the theme.
That's fine.
But I came with the scaries.
You did. You brought a lot to today.
And Meg, you had something you wanted to share as
well.
Yes,
friends. So I know we're towards the end of the year, but the year is not over. And as you know, I work with clients. I coach people to have breakthroughs on goals, whatever it is.
Well, if it wasn't obvious this entire episode, like, she has great shit to share about. I'm not kidding. Like, this entire episode, I was thinking, was literally an advertisement for your thoughts and things that you share. So please continue.
Thoughts and feelings. Yeah. But I'm not a therapist. This isn't therapy. You know, you can go to a therapist, which is if you need to do that, go do that. But no, coaching is very much, this is
working with someone.
Yeah. So coaching, it's a 1 month intensive. I call it the Breakthrough Lab. It is curated for you to have to do less because a lot of people are very busy. I understand that. So this is about how do we take better massive action in less time, get better results. I'm here holding you accountable in an amazing way. And we have worksheets. Yeah. Jamie did it.
I was just going to say, I've done it, guys. I loved it. And again, the reason, coming from someone who has done it as opposed to like you advertising it.
Yeah.
I always describe it as like, I am point A and I need to get so badly from point A to point B. And I have no idea what that path looks like. Mm-hmm. And Meg is the one who is going to help you create that roadmap.
Yeah.
And from like a completely unbiased point of view, show you what that path can look like.
Yeah, we can get out of the emotional component and we can just get logical.
It's
about
relief.
What
it's
we
amazing.
gotta do.
It's amazing.
Well, thank you, Jamie.
Action
items, baby. So yes, if you are interested, the year is not over and we can still make things happen. We still have 2 months to make some breakthroughs happen.
Let's go.
So special for my listeners. I will offer 50% off with the code breakthrough. So if you email us at
podchronic@gmail.com.
That's right. Or you go to my website, createbreakthroughs.com.
And we're going to have the link. The link is, by the way, always in our description.
Yes.
So
yeah. So if you go to that, if you go to Create Breakthroughs and you do any of the like start now buttons, it'll take you to a Google form and we will get started. So yeah, that is 50% off with code breakthrough.
While Meg would be unbiased and you're working together, I'm completely biased, I know, but like I have done it and I can't speak enough about it. So I highly recommend if anyone's going through anything right now, career-wise or whatever that you want to work through, I highly recommend.
Or you have a huge dream and you're like, there's no way I can do that. We can do it.
So
let's do it.
It's a great deal for getting like an amazing roadmap to get your dreams.
Invest in your dreams now.
Truly.
Why wait? If we can make it happen, why are we waiting?
Yeah.
That's all I gotta say.
Ooh, really quickly. Oh, there's a comedian. She has a show. I forget what it's on, but she's also she was on Girls. She's been in a million things.
Oh, okay.
Bridget Everett.
Okay.
She's a really funny comedian, but she's been just on a bunch of talk shows recently and she's in her 40s and she was waiting tables in her 40s trying to like make it as a comedian, as a star.
Wow.
And her main line that I've been hearing her say is that dreams have no deadlines.
Boom.
Oh, it's such a good phrase.
Not if we're still breathing today. It means we start today.
Dreams have no deadlines.
No.
You can it doesn't matter, guys. Actually, honestly, presidential, we're not going to talk about politics, but I'm just saying, like, if being the president of the United States was always your dream, look at every fucking president. How old are they? Old. It takes a really long time to achieve your dream, but you can do it.
You can do it. And so in a year from now, you're going to say, I wish I started a year ago. So.
Yeah. So there's no time like the present.
Hey. No, not my best.
Guys, what a fun episode.
So fun. Jamie, amazing.
Love you so much.
Love you so much.
And happy Halloween, guys.
Happy Halloween.
Woo. Have spooky fun. Bye. And we'll see you next time.
Be safe.
Woo. Ha 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 ha.